Hello and welcome to another TLDR UK video. Whether we like it or not, the issue of Brexit is rearing its head once again. Specifically, one of, if not the most contentious parts of the whole process. We're talking about the Irish border. While an agreement was reached at the tail end of last year, that agreement seems to have been put under some strain from both sides recently, with the EU seemingly willing to take Britain to court over the border. So in this video, we'll try and explain why the border is back in the limelight once again, and what the future might hold. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel to help us get ever closer to 500,000 subscribers. Also, if you don't want to miss out on any of our content, we also have separate channels which discuss EU, US and global news. They're all linked below, so if you're interested, then you can subscribe and check them out. Thanks so much for your support. First things first, a bit of background. While events in recent days and weeks have undoubtedly contributed to the latest dispute, the issues at the border aren't new, with tension bubbling under the surface for a while now. The real fun started happening in January though, surrounding Article 16 of the Northern Irish Protocol. As we discussed at the time, pretty much out of nowhere, the European Union, in a bid to try and keep vaccine supplies within the EU, triggered Article 16, seemingly to try and stop them from being exported to the UK. Article 16 of the Protocol simply states that if the application of the wider Northern Ireland Protocol leads to serious economic, societal or environmental difficulties, the Union or the United Kingdom may unilaterally take appropriate safeguard measures. In plain speak, the protocol may be suspended and a hard border imposed if serious harm is being caused to either side. Therefore, Article 16 is meant to be an emergency brake for when things go seriously wrong, forcing both sides back to the negotiating table. Criteria which many say this situation didn't justify. Condemnation was swift from all sides, with pretty much everyone agreeing that this was not only a misuse of the article, but a dangerous precedent. As such, the European Commission did quite quickly back down, but it's relatively safe that the EU's messing with the Irish border in January led up to this current dispute. Soon after the incident, discussion in the UK turned to whether the Northern Ireland Protocol, and by extension the border itself, was even fit for purpose. Some called for the protocol to be scrapped altogether, with others calling the UK to trigger Article 16 themselves. This clearly has some support, with a government petition amassing more than 100,000 signatures in 24 hours. With the author writing, after just 1 month, Northern Ireland is suffering real economic and societal difficulties as a consequence of the Northern Ireland Protocol operating and creating new borders to unfettered trade within the UK. The government should use all the powers it has to protect UK trade. This petition, well, it was authored by none other than Arlene Foster. Regardless, abolishing the protocol altogether or triggering Article 16 weren't exactly credible options, so the issue quickly died down. That is, until the grace periods argument began to heat up. Given the fact that the Brexit deal was only reached a matter of days before the end of the transition period, neither side wanted to immediately bring in a wide raft of changes and administrative checks overnight, especially on the contentious issue of the Irish border. So the EU-UK Joint Committee, which oversees the implementation of the trade agreement, agreed to establish a number of grace periods, effectively extending the transition period for a few months, with exact extensions depending on the products and direction of travel. Anyway, with the first grace periods rapidly reaching their end, Michael Gove requested further easing and new measures, including the extension of all grace periods until the 1st of January 2023. The argument being that doing this would simplify things, give businesses longer to adapt, and unify the end date. The EU responded, saying that the UK was failing to implement the protocol fully by not enforcing border checks as agreed, arguing that border posts weren't fully operational, nor were the checks being performed done so in compliance with the withdrawal agreement. Therefore, the EU refused to extend the grace periods any further, refusing to delay the protocol's implementation. In turn, Brandon Lewis announced that Britain would be unilaterally extending a number of grace periods until the 1st of October. Almost immediately, the EU shot back, expressing strong concerns over the UK's unilateral action, which, according to them, amounts to a violation of the protocol, highlighting that this is the second time the UK government is set to breach international law, and a clear departure from the constructive approach to ongoing talks. In response then, the EU also for a second time launched their infringement procedure, saying that Britain wasn't sticking to the Brexit deal because they extended the timeline included without consultation and agreement, potentially giving rise to two separate legal proceedings against the UK. Firstly, the Commission sent the UK a letter of formal notice. This letter specifically gives the UK 1 month to reply, and if the EU Commission isn't satisfied by the justification or response, then they can continue legal proceedings and refer the case to the Court of Justice of the EU, who can impose financial penalties, as per the Brexit deal that Britain agreed to. The EU also went down a more political route, sending a letter to David Frost calling on the UK to enter bilateral consultations in the Joint Committee. If these mediation talks fail, then the dispute settlement procedure found within the withdrawal agreement can be activated by the EU. The dispute would then be referred to a binding arbitration panel who have the power to impose financial restrictions, or allow the EU to suspend its obligations to the UK. In worrying practical terms, if the arbitration panel finds in favour of the EU, then Europe will be permitted to start imposing tariffs on British goods. To the UK's credit, it's understandable why they might want to extend the grace periods, because imposing any kinds of checks surrounding the Northern Irish border is a political and sometimes actual minefield. According to The Economist, last month border checks at Northern Irish ports were halted after loyalists threatened inspectors. The same loyalists involved in the attacks and murders during the Troubles, and the same loyalists who have withdrawn support for the Good Friday Agreement due to the protocol and the effective border. So, with tensions running high on the island of Ireland, it's understandable that the UK wants to kick the can down the road. Assuming that the UK and EU can resolve this dispute without resorting to sanctions, this will be far from the end of disputes surrounding the protocol, thanks to the consent mechanism. Given the politically fragile nature of things in Northern Ireland, the withdrawal agreement provides for Northern Ireland to be regularly consulted on whether the protocol should remain in force, and ultimately requires them to consent to it every so often. The first consent vote is scheduled for December 2024, so you can expect a spate of TLDR videos on the topic in 45 months' time. Regardless, this issue between the UK and EU seems to be getting more and more tense, and if we do get towards mediation and legal action, the whole Brexit issue is likely to blow up once again. Britain will likely insist that the EU is being provocative and not accounting for the UK's need to protect the border and trade. The EU would likely respond that the UK asked for this. They voted for Brexit, and difficulties at the Irish border were always going to be a consequence of that. Moreover, Europe would argue that the UK is directly violating the deal they signed only months ago, and if they didn't like the terms, they should have never signed the deal. But what do you think? Is the UK justified in taking unilateral action to calm issues in Ireland and delay the procedure? Also, what's more important, international law or protecting the Northern Irish border? And are they even mutually exclusive? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. A link to that's in the description.